Rain and rising. It was raining the day Aisha walked out of her marriage, but she didn't mind the water soaking through her scarf or the chill that settled into her bones. What hurt more was the sound of the door closing behind her, the final, quiet thud that meant it was over. Her son, Sammy, was asleep in her arms, his head against her shoulder, unaware that their world had just changed forever. She had nothing but a backpack stuffed with essentials, a folder of documents, and a heart full of fear. But she also had Sammy, and that made all the difference. In the taxi, as buildings blurred past through tear-soaked eyes, Aisha whispered to her son, "We're going to be okay, I promise." She didn't know if it was true, but sometimes promises are made more for the speaker than the listener. The apartment she found was small, just one bedroom with fading paint and a leaky kitchen faucet, but it was theirs. She used her limited savings for the first month's rent and a few second-hand furniture pieces. There was no television, no fancy curtains, but there was peace. No shouting, no slammed doors, no walking on eggshells. For the first time in years, Aisha could exhale. The early days were brutal. She'd cry into her pillow after Sammy had fallen asleep, mourning the life she had hoped for, the love she thought she had, and the family she believed she was building. People talked, of course. Whispers followed her in the grocery store and in the mosque. Divorced, alone, a child in tow, a failure in the eyes of many. But while others whispered, Aisha worked. She found a job as a receptionist at a local clinic. It didn't pay much, but it was honest work. She left Sami at a neighbor's in the mornings, kissed his forehead, and ran to catch the bus. The days were long, but the evenings were golden. She would come home to a hug so fierce it erased the exhaustion, to drawings with stick figures labeled Mama and Me, to little fingers brushing her cheeks as he said, "Don't be sad, Mama." There were times when she wanted to give up, when rent was due and her bank account mocked her. When Sammy had a fever, she had to choose between medicine and food. When she saw other families laughing in the park, and her heart ached for something whole. But every time she'd look at her son's eyes, those big brown eyes that held galaxies, and remember why she kept going. Years passed. Sammy grew taller and Aisha grew stronger. She took night classes after work, studying accounting because she knew it would open doors. She worked by day, studied by night, and mothered every moment in between. Sleep was a luxury. Tears were a regular visitor, but so was hope. When Sammy turned 10, he brought home a certificate for Outstanding Student of the Year. He clutched it with pride and handed it to her, saying, "You deserve this more than me, Mama. You're the real hero." She didn't reply, just hugged him so tightly he laughed and said she was squishing his lungs. People started to notice. Her boss promoted her to an administrative assistant. She bought a laptop for installment, and Sammy helped her set it up. They built dreams together, little ones like pizza on Fridays, and big ones like him becoming a doctor one day. He used to say, "Mama, I'll take care of you like you took care of me." And she'd smile, brushing his hair back, saying, "Just grow up kind, that's all I want." She missed out on a lot parties, vacations, even sleep. But she never missed a parent-teacher meeting, never missed a bedtime story, never let her son feel like he came second. Time, as it does, moved quickly. One day, she helped him with multiplication tables. The next, he showed her how to apply for college scholarships. He got accepted into a university in another city. The night before he left, they sat on the old couch, the same one she'd bought from a thrift store 10 years ago. It had scratches and stains and stories sewn into every thread. "I don't want to leave you," he said quietly. "You're not leaving," she replied. "You're flying, and that's what I raised you for." The apartment felt empty without him. She kept his room just as it was. Sometimes she'd sit at his desk and read the notes he used to leave for her. "Love you more than chocolate. You're the best mama in the galaxy." She didn't cry much. She had done enough of that in the past. Now she smiled more. She even started painting again, something she hadn't done since her university days. Years later, on a warm spring morning, Sammy returned not as the boy she raised, but as a man with a degree, a job offer, and a sparkle in his eye. He hugged her tightly and said, "I bought a house, not far. You'll live with me." "I have my life here," she smiled, "and I wouldn't have mine if it weren't for you." She wore a soft pink dress at his wedding and sat in the front row, her heart full. The bride hugged her and said, "He told me everything. You're the woman he admires most in the world." Aisha could barely speak, but her eyes said it all. She sometimes thought about the door she closed years ago in the quiet of her home. That one act of bravery had changed everything. She hadn't just survived. She had built a life, raised a good man, and healed herself. And though the world had once judged her for walking away, she knew now that leaving wasn't a weakness. It was love. Fierce, protective, limitless love for herself and the little boy who had once clung to her in the rain.